Morning. You made it. Well, I see you've got yourself a delicious beverage. Cheers. You can cheers coffee. You can cheers beer. You can cheers champagne. You can cheers milk, I suppose. But you can't cheers water. I don't believe that's a thing. Don't get me wrong, I love water. I'm made of it. I walked through a bunch of it coming to the shop this morning. And yeah, it's fun. Water's a great thing. I'm just perusing the latest issue of Drivers Club because, you know, I'm a member, Haggerty, one of the few Haggerty members. They only let so many people in, you know. I think pretty much everybody who wants to. It's a pretty all-inclusive club. It's not very, what's the word I'm looking for? It's way too early to find words. Exclusive, thank you. What would I do without you? They've got an article in here this week about the original Gone in 60 Seconds, where they destroyed 93 cars. We would cry today to see those old cars destroyed, but back then they were just normal cars. Why not destroy them? Anyway, what do we got going on this week? My goodness. I'm waiting on a couple of things. I'm waiting on another project to come in. It's being delayed a little bit. But I've got, I got to finish up the Bird. I've got to make some sort of headway on the Dustang. We're making headway. It's just slow, and yeah, it's not a rush job or anything, so I'm kind of taking my time with it, you know, whatever. You know, Haggerty has, is it Haggerty insurance that if you're a member, you have free towing up to 20 miles from home or something? You know, and I broke down when the motor took a dive on, you know, Mr. F over there. I called the number because I'm like, well, I've never used them. I should try them. So they want the information on your car so they can look it up, whatever. Well, it's an AC Cobra. Well, I can't find that. Look up Shelby Cobra. I was like, it's a kit car, but essentially it's a Shelby Mustang. I don't know. The poor lady on the phone, whoever they have answering those things, they aren't car people. It was very difficult. They finally got someone coming, and then that person canceled on me after I waited for him for 40 minutes on the side of the road with no water. That was my fault, by the way. I just threw that no water in because, you know, that makes it even more egregious if I'm suffering by my own hand and they're not showing up, you know. My, what's the saying? My, whatever. There's a saying. There's a saying for everything. Probably something like, finish your cup of coffee before you try to start talking words. I'm sure that's a saying. Anyway, I ended up canceling that one, and I just waited for my wife to come pick me up, and I grabbed my own trailer and towed it home. It wasn't a very good experience. All that to say, I'm not bashing on the Haggerty. I'm just saying my experience wasn't that great. So I'd probably be better off just having a towing rider on my, or getting AAA, you know, on my insurance. So, okay, well, yeah, I'm not ready to work yet. I got some more morning reading to do, and then I got to pay some bills, and then I got to write some estimates, and then I have to order some parts, and then maybe, you know, after that, we'll do some work on probably jump on the Dustang, see what we can discover with the new fuel pump that came in, and go from there. So again, cheers. Super glad you're here. And every week I'm glad, but today especially I'm glad because that's the only day that I have. So, all right, relax a bit. We'll see you in a few minutes. Okay. Whenever you show up, I'm pretty sure the very first thing that I say after I've been doing work is, okay. I should probably come up with something else. I don't know. I don't have anything else. Okay. Now I'm going to be self-conscious every time I say okay. I'm going to be thinking, okay, I need to come up with another word. Alrighty then. I've got the new fuel pump put on. So, if you remember from last week, we eventually came around to the fuel pressure being too high. The pump that was on there was running between 10 and 15 PSI. These carburetors like between 5 and 7 max. So that's one reason why both carburetors are overfueling. The difference between the two is that the Holly will accept throttle inputs, whereas the Autolite, rebuilt Autolite, still won't. Like, you give it throttle, boom, car dies. Something's wrong internally. I don't know what. This Holly is going to be a better choice in the end. So it's actually accepting throttle input, but it's still overfueling because we have too much fuel pressure. So I don't want to put on a fuel pressure regulator. I shouldn't have to. These pumps are supposed to be rated for the 5 to 7, 8 PSI that these carburetors like. That one wasn't. I compared the one I took off to the one that I put on. Except for the stamping, you would think they were made in the same factory at the same time, which they probably were. They probably are made in one factory, and then they ship them out and get stamped by different companies that sell them. So let's see what this one does. I'll let you watch this gauge here while I crank it over. If this one is also too high of pressure, my hand is forced and I have to put a regulator on there just because I can't apparently buy a fuel pump, mechanical pump that won't give me the proper, amounts. So you look at the gauge, I'm going to crank the engine. We won't worry about what the carburetor is doing because this is only a test for the PSIs. All right, you tell me what it's doing. Did I unplug the battery? Hang on a minute. Some very smart person with the initials Eric Goranson definitely unplugged the battery. It's one of these times that you can get good help. So there you go. It can happen. All right, you didn't actually have to be looking at that gauge the whole time, but I appreciate your dedication. All right, let's try this again. Well, I don't know why it's acting that way. What did the PSIs tell us? Oh, this one's better. Okay. Just hang out a minute. You don't have to keep looking at that. Hang on a minute and we'll, I'll kind of see what the deal is here. Okay, first of all, it's up to its old tricks again. It's fluctuating up to 15 pounds, down to 12. Okay, fuel pressure regulator needed. Secondly, it's running extremely rough. Extremely rough. You can give it throttle, but it's just not happy at all. So I'm going to track that down. I'll probably pull a couple of plugs to see what they look like. It sounds like it's misfiring. The plug wires are routed in the correct location. It's timed, but I might bring it to top dead center just to double check it. It's acting like it's out of time is what it's acting, and yet it ran smoothly. I don't, you know, like normally if an engine's out of time, it's always out of time. It doesn't come in and out of time. The distributor's tight. I had tested the coil earlier and it's fine. It was making spark. I'm gonna have to puzzle on this and get back to you because it's very unhappy. So, two issues. One, fuel pressure is way too high. So I'm gonna have to put a regulator in it. We'll do that before we run it anymore because I don't want to blow this carburetor out. Too much pressure. So I'll do that first. So I know I'm getting the right pressure. And then I will double check. Just double and triple check. Make sure my timing is correct. I'll test spark. I know I've got it. It's just where's the fault? So we'll find it. She's just, you know, a 20-year nap is a long nap. So there's no telling. I could have, you know, truth be told, the way it's running, I could have a bad head gasket. I'm not seeing any evidence of that in the oil or in the coolant, but I could. I could have. Also, I'm not seeing it in the exhaust as far as, you know, if coolant's not getting into the oil, but it's getting into the exhaust, I'd see the white smoke. Not seeing that. But that's a possibility. Let's not say it's terminal until we've just made sure on the small stuff. So, all right. Yeah, I'm gonna get my thinking cap on and play around a little bit. I'll let you know what I find out. All right, I pulled the spark plugs. We'll take a look at those in a minute. I ordered a fuel pressure regulator. For some reason, and this has been a problem for years, I would say at this point years. These fuel pumps that come from another country, on the other side of the world, that supplies all of the people who sell the same fuel pump, probably Napa, probably O'Reilly's, probably Summit, probably Jags, probably Speedway, probably AutoZone, probably you insert it there, you know? Whatever, whoever your car people are, it's probably the same. It's all the same. And for years, getting the proper fuel pressure out of these is impossible. Thus, the advent of fuel pressure regulators galore. It's too bad, but that's just the way it is. So, I was probably naively hopeful, just throw this thing on and it would work. For sure, I was naively hopeful. There's no probably about it. But, you know, hope springs eternal. Eternal means forever. I'm always hopeful. But I should have used my brain to start with and just went ahead and picked up a fuel pressure regulator. So that'll be in probably next week sometime. I don't know. It's being shipped probably from Canada or Australia or something, you know, somewhere in South America. I don't know where it's coming from, but it should do the trick for this carburetor and fuel pump. So, while I'm waiting, I can't really do that much while I'm waiting, and this is probably the last thing I'm going to do until I get that in and we can test it. But I did take out the spark plugs. So I'm going to let you tell me what you think about the spark plugs, okay? Here's this one. I would say number 1 cylinder, but I think it goes 1 through 4, 5 through 8. Pretty sure that's the way Ford goes. Anyway, whatever. I've got them in order on the driver's side here. Very wet, obviously running rich. That makes sense. Totally makes sense why it was looking like that. This one, well, I'm not sure what's happening with that, except that there's no ability for it to make spark because it's smashed flat. I'm looking at it. I don't have my spectacles on, but I don't see any impact damage. I'm not sure why it is like that, because it wasn't when I put it in. While I have these out and I'm waiting, I might do a compression test on this engine just to see. Again, I'm just a curious kind of person. Again, very rich, extremely rich. More of the same. When we walk out around to this side, this plug's a little rusty on the outside. These are the plugs that I found in the trunk that were maybe 20 years old. But as you can see, more of the same. Another squashed one. No spark happening there. Possibly my rough running issue. I don't know, you tell me. Very rich. Very rich. So, I'm going to just order a new set of spark plugs to put in it to go with all of the other stuff. Let these cylinders evaporate all of the excess fuel out of them. Probably when I'm all done and this engine is running smoothly, I will change the oil again. There's got to be a lot of fuel dumped into there. Every once in a while I smell the dipstick to see how bad it's getting. It's not terrible, but another thing is I may replace this this breather cap on there. It's not expensive. but then I can make sure I'm getting enough draw. You know, if that's clogged up and I have vacuum coming out of that, I don't have the draw that I need. My crankcase ventilation, you know? That's what it's all about. So, yeah, might hook up my, order those plugs, hook up my compression tester, try that out, and then, you know, then we'll just turn the light out and walk away. Just like that, until the parts come in. What I need to be doing, that I told you I was going to do last week, is finish up on the Bird here. It's pouring down rain today, so I can't get it out on the road, see how it runs or anything, but that's okay, because I still need to install a Pro Tach gauge. You know, it's got different color Christmas wires on there, and we're just going to kind of throw it at it, you know, and hope in the course of evolution it will install itself. That is how it works. So, well, it might take a while. You know, grab a chair. I understand the process is, you know, you may not be alive for the end of it, but it'll happen. Mark my words. Okay. Let me order some parts, and then I'll come back to this. You just go visit the little boy's room or something. All right, that is the last one. Shining a light in my eyes. Oh, look at that. There's a little end on this to adapt it, and about 50% of the time the hose came out without the end, and I had to, you know, normal stuff. Excuse me. So, we've got here, in my grease-stained and bloody fingers, the compression results on this 1967 Ford 289. So we've got 120, 114, 120, 130, 135, 121, 131, and 120. Overall, they're within 20 of each other. You know, on the low side, I would say, but on an old engine that's been running a while, I would consider that acceptable. What do you think? I mean, give me your opinion. You know, on the Ford 289, I feel like those numbers, the 114, but still, I don't know if it's burning oil. I don't know, you know, when I got the car, the oil was clean. I'm guessing it had been changed right before it got put away. I don't have any history, but I'd say they're all close enough to each other in numbers that, yeah, not worried about it. I would keep running this engine till it was doing something that you didn't like. Assuming we can get it running. We will get it running. Okay, just because it's fighting us a little bit, and some of the fighting us is in regards to, you know, parts overperforming and parts underperforming. We'll get it sorted out. But that at least puts my mind to rest. I'll put new plugs in, and we will put the fuel pressure regulator on, and yeah, see if all of the work we've done with those clear it up. It should, in my opinion. There's no reason why this thing shouldn't be getting everything it needs. Like there's no red flags that I'm seeing. So now, you know, we haven't talked about brakes or anything like that. I haven't even opened the little 2-pot over there because I'm assuming that it's dry. But let's get this running. I'd like to drive it around the yard, shift the transmission, see how everything feels. Just putt around, and then we can go from there on the brakes. But I think we're making progress. I feel good about it. Do you feel good about it? I think it's important how we feel. If we're all feeling good about it, it really doesn't matter what reality is. We all feel good. So let's hold on to those good feelings and keep going down the road, or not in this case. All right, lights out. Let's go focus on the bird here. Try to get this Christmas tree of wires in the yellow bird. Okay, I did it again. Dang it. Howdy ho, neighbor. Now I know why he said that. He didn't want to say okay. Well, I have got the tach installed, as you saw, and it's working. So basically, there's 4 wires that come off the back of this, and black one is ground. The white one goes to the, well, words please, come on, enter my mind. It goes to lights. So when you turn your lights on, the tach lights up. And another one goes to accessory power. So I just found on the fuse box, they have some open circuits for lights, accessory power, etc. And then I just ran a ground wire as well. So then I ran the 4th wire, it's the green wire, through the firewall and all the way through the loom until we got to here. This gray plug coming out of the coil. This white wire is the ground side of that, which is a signal for your tach. So now we have a tach. A tach, yeah. A tach. We have a tachometer. It's not an attack. So yeah, I'm just gonna put all of the covers back on that I took off. Check out these subwoofers, by the way. Yeah, they're subwoofers. Yeah, clean up a little bit and take it out for a spin. Just make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to be working. Make sure I don't have that stumble that I had before. it idles way better than before. So I'm guessing it'll be fine. But anyway, we're just gonna check it out, see what the dealio is, and then move on. Moving right along. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the, what am I waiting for? What am I waiting for? What are any of us waiting for, really? This is such a esoterical question. Certainly not suited to working on cars. You shouldn't be using any thought or brain power for doing that. What is it? I'm waiting on something. What did I order? I told you last week what I was going to order, or maybe this week I told you, and it's coming. What is it? The valve cover vent cap. That's coming. Oh, new spark plugs. I am losing my mind. I'm pretty sure. Your snide comments, not helpful, okay? I let you raid my beer fridge, apple juice fridge. I let you drink my coffee. I let you sit in my chair. Snide comments, okay? Privileges revoked. That's all I'm saying. That's the train tracks you're headed down. So, okay. Well, let me button things up and then we'll take her around the block real quick. Oh. Hi, I just got thirsty. Are you thirsty? Okay, well, you can take care of that yourself because you're a grown adult. So, okay. Oh, dang it. Alrighty then. Oh, I don't. Heidi ho. Can we take two? Can we like erase all of this? Yeah, you're right. There are no take-twos in life. There are second chances, though. Just give me a second chance to redeem myself here. You were with me on the ride, and you could probably tell. I wasn't talkative. I was really trying to listen to what the vehicle is trying to tell me, and you know, you're just along for the ride. I appreciate you not yapping my ear off. It's hard to concentrate when people are doing that. You didn't ask if I could play the radio. You were a very good passenger. So it idled fine, if you could tell. It accepted throttle inputs in park just fine. Smelled a little rich. And on initial throttle tip in under load, I had hesitation. It wasn't until it broke through like 2,500 RPM, foot mash to the floor, you could hear it, it just pulled strong, really good. So, boys and girls, listen to your Uncle Eric when he says, don't just buy parts and throw them at the problem. It's not a great idea. It can get expensive. And yeah, you can replace parts unnecessarily. So that being said, don't you, don't you like it when people say, that being said, basically they're erasing everything they just told you, which was good advice, and they're telling you that they're not actually going to follow their own good advice. Okay, that being said, I am going to use knowledge backed by experience to go ahead and diagnose the problem as a bad EGR valve. So I've ordered an EGR valve. I am going to put it in. If it doesn't solve the problem, I won't charge the customer for it. I have a couple of buddies that have code readers for OBD1 ports, but the time and effort it would take me to go do that right now, it's less expensive for me to just put the EGR valve on. If it doesn't solve the problem, I won't charge the customer. I took the risk, but I think it's worth the risk at this point, time-wise, and all of that. So I'm waiting for that to come in, and in the meantime, oh yeah, forgot to tell you, I got back and it was leaking coolant because I forgot to tighten that hose clamp. So, you know, don't feel bad if you forget to tighten things. It'll tell you. It said, hey, Eric, you forgot to tighten me, so I'm going to just puke coolant everywhere. Neener, neener. Your car ever say neener, neener to you? Well, the bird did. The bird flipped me the bird, but I tightened that clamp up and showed him. So you're probably yelling at me right now. You're so frustrated because I can't hear you. I got my fingers in my ears. Speak up. I don't know, I'm hard of hearing. I don't know what you're saying. What's that? Uh-huh. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Smarty McSmart Pants. Yes, on this OBD port, there is a way to jumper it and pull codes off of it without a code reader. If this was a 1992 Corvette. But, you know, It's not. It's a 1991 Blazer, as we can clearly see. So I don't have the little screen on the dash that would read out those codes to me. So how do you feel now? Yeah, I mean, okay. Well, I mean, I wasn't trying to make you feel bad, but you just had to say it. And I don't like to be the guy to tell you that you're kind of right, but you're not. So it's all right. We can still be friends. It'll be fine. I do it all the time myself. It's called a brain fart, and it stinks. So, all right, let's wait for this EGR to come in. We'll throw the part at it, see what happens. I'm optimistic. So if I wasn't optimistic, I wouldn't do it. Not true. I do a lot of things that I'm pessimistic about. So, all right, let's drink the rest of this bottle of water while we wait for that part to show up. What are you doing out there? I know, I locked you out because you can't help but do cat things and climb on my shiny paint. Here. Hey, buddy. How are you? Don't show your butt at me. Come over here. Yeah. Yeah, you're a good kitty. You're a fat kitty. You've been eating birds and all kinds of critters, snakes and all that stuff. Wow, you're getting your winter coat on you. I know, I can't let you in though. I would like you in there. I know, but I can't do it. You cannot help yourself. You will put your paw prints all over everything. All right, is this good enough? You gonna be happy? I gotta go back in and work. Yeah, okay. I'm not letting you in, so you can just forget about it. All right, see you later. Yeah? Eat some grass or something. Here's the cows. Don't think you can bite my leg. Yeah, I know you're vicious, but all right. I'll feed you later, okay? You just relax. Well, you know, he's a cat. He can't help it. I've been this close to letting him back in the shop, and then I look at Mr. F, and I look at the bird here, which won't be here much longer, but you know, under that tarp, haven't talked about it, have I? It's a Bronco. It's got super shiny paint, and I know him. He'll climb up under the cover because he's a cat. He cannot help himself. So, whatever, you know? He'll survive because he's a cat. I don't know how many lives he's used up yet, but he looks like he's got plenty left, so. All right, enough chitter chatter. Whatever, I'm gonna pull this EGR valve out. let's see what happens. Got the EGR valve replaced, and see what we can see here. Okay, the first thing I notice is that the check engine light is not on anymore. So that's a plus. That's a plus. Oil pressure's good. Gauges are working. Still no check engine light. All right. Let it warm up to the end of the driveway here. It seems like it's happy. The bird seems happy. Oh, it's a lot happier. A lot happier. Oh my gosh. Still no check engine light. RPM's working, gauge is working. Good oil pressure. Gonna build a little engine temperature before we get in it at all. Things warm up a little bit. Now, when I first got this truck, it was at this point in the drive that I already knew something was terribly wrong. It wouldn't accelerate. It bucked and popped. So we replaced the OptiSpark, and that smoothed it out a ton. In fact, before it even it idled rough, just sitting there. OptiSpark took care of that, but I believe it also had an EGR issue, which was still causing problems. All right, out on the highway, just regular acceleration. Beautiful, beautiful. Oh, like a dream, like a dream. This is a truck you could daily drive. I'll just tell you. It's old, you know? I mean, it's old tech. Essentially, everything at Cars Are People 2 is old. So I guess I say that because to me, something built in the 90s, it's hard for me to say it's a classic. But you know what? It's 100% a classic. 100%. Absolutely. So this truck's been lowered So it has the characteristics of a little bit rougher ride because of it, with its low profile tires and all of that. But honestly, I've ridden in worse. It certainly doesn't float, and because of the wide tires, it does wander a little bit, you know, in the grooves of the road, but it's not terrible. We're going to turn around here and just kind of go from a stop, because that's really where it was noticeable before. Okay, roll it into the throttle. Oh yeah, very strong. Very strong. Okay. All right, the bird is happy again. I might even call you Birdardo, since you're happy. Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to call that a win on Mr. Bird. And yep. Move on to the Dustang again. Try to get the spark plugs in, the fuel pressure regulator, get that mounted up. And I'm gonna leave the fuel pressure gauge on the motor with the fuel pressure regulator, so I can adjust the pressure kind of at the carburetor, because I'm planning to put the regulator before the pump, mainly for mounting simplicity and cleanness. That way I don't have a line running to the firewall and then back to the carburetor. We can just put it in line right from the inner fender to the filter to the regulator, and then up the rail into the carburetor. So it may have some drop off between the regulator and the carburetor, and we'll mitigate that by having the gauge there to be able to adjust it before we take the gauge off. So, oh, this is amazing. Oops. Service engine tune light came on again. But the engine runs great. Engine runs great. Oh yeah, it's wonderful. So I do have a scan tool coming. It's just a very rudimentary OBD1 reader that hopefully will tell us what the service engine tune light is, because as of now, it took a while for it to come on, but the truck's running fine. Like it's great. Night and day. So we might take a peek at that real quick before the owner shows up, just so we can, you know, he may want us to take a look at that anyway. It's amazing. Rolling into the throttle, no bucking, no issues. Everything's good. We're happy. Water temp is up. Loving it. Loving it, loving it. Oh, well, I have to make a little bit of an apology. You know, it's hard to admit when you're wrong, but you got to do it. So, you know, if you're wrong, you're wrong. Okay, let's just rip the Band-Aid off. Wrong is wrong. So if you remember, I was giving you a hard time about, you know, not being able to pull codes because I don't have the Corvette, you know, whatever. Well, apparently this build was done right. That's all I have to say. So let me bring you in just really quick here. So I went on Amazon, bought this, you know, GM. It basically does the jumper thing, but it can do a little bit more. So you plug this in, you know, set it on. It's got a little switch here. You can set it on ABS or the ECM. Of course, we want it on the ECM. And then it comes, this thing's like $33. This is nothing. It comes with a whole book. And if you scroll over to the end of the English section, it has all of these codes listed, the ECM codes. So I plug this in, and what happens is the service engine soon light, in this case, flashes. You know, you turn the key on accessory, you don't turn the car on. And it'll flash a 12. So basically a 12 is a 1, pause, 2 flashes, pause. It'll do that 3 times in a row so you don't miss it. In between is a super long pause. And then once it does the 12, it'll do the other codes. So in this case, it flashed 3 times, pause, 3 more times, long pause, and then it repeated it twice more. So I ended up with a 33 code and a 64 code. What they have in common is the map sensor. Now the 64 code can also indicate O2 sensor and EGR, but since we've replaced the EGR, I'm going to cross that out. And also, since the engine runs so much better since we replaced the EGR, I feel like we've solved that problem. So I'm thinking it's the map sensor. The customer is coming to pick up the car. I was hoping to get this code reader before he came, and I did, but I'm not going to be able to get the map sensor before he comes. But I am going to show you. I just took the car kind of for a final test drive before he comes, just to make sure, you know, everything is wonderful. Hang on, I got to put this on. Okay. So the map sensor is right under this cover. It's this little guy right here. You can see it's kind of stuck on with adhesive to the side of the intake, and it just unplugs here. It's like a $90 sensor, but the auto parts stores, neither of them had it in the store. Well, one of them showed to have it in the store, but because I used to work at an auto parts store, I called and said, hey, can you put your hands on the part physically? And he couldn't. So I wasn't going to get it in time, but that's definitely something that the owner of the Bird can spend $90 in 2 minutes and replace that, reset the codes, which you can either pull the fuse or unplug the battery for about 15 seconds, and drive the car so the car can relearn, and it'll probably be fine. You know, as it is, the car runs great. It just, after about 4 miles, the service engine soon light comes on. So anyway, yeah, he'll come get that. And I'm pulling teeth here. I don't know if it's like have trouble getting parts day or whatever, but I'm still waiting on the parts that we need. Today, the fuel pressure regulator should be in, so we'll get that installed, and then also the spark plugs should be in. They were supposed to be in, 2 days ago, but I don't know. I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening, but it's happening. Anyway, we'll jump on that real quick. As soon as those show up, and kind of wrap up the week with that. But if you want to say goodbye to Birdardo, now's the time. I'm tempted to ask him if he wants to sell the bird. I actually love it. Anyway, all right, moving along. We'll not make Mr. F feel bad that I want another car, because I don't want to replace Mr. F. I just, I like cars. I like having them. Don't tell my wife. I mean, not that she doesn't know. Anyway, she knows more than she lets on. Let's just put it that way. Well, got my bald man apple juice mug. This bald men, we got to stick together. Not really. It's just hair, I remember when I was in my 20s, I started balding. And from the 20s well into my 30s, I fought it, forward comb, growing it longer. The only person that I was fooling was myself. I imagined myself, and then one day, I thought to myself, if my hair doesn't want me, I don't want it. There's a bug flying in my face. So I shaved it all off. And it was the best decision I ever made. I just, I never have a bad hair day. Ever. So it's just wonderful. Anyway, So we're gonna end this week. Well, with a win and a downer. So the Bird runs great. Customer is extremely happy. I will probably see that truck in again. Hopefully not soon, but you know, at some point. I just had a little bit more time to dive into the Dustang. And you saw I was putting the plugs back in. They were just soaked with fuel. Put them back in, put the fuel pressure regulator. I put it before the pump. It's not supposed to matter. But as I was cranking it, it was still dumping fuel. So I moved it to right before the carburetor, after the pump, put a gauge on it. I know now that I'm getting to the carburetor 5 PSI, maybe 6, you know, not too much. That needle and seat will hold maybe 10, you know, but it likes to run in that 4 to 5 range. So, excuse me, my nose is running. Anyway, it is pouring fuel down the carburetor. So I don't know, I'm gonna probably have to take the carburetor apart. And yeah, something's wrong. I think I'm gonna have to change the oil on the car again, because I'm pretty sure I'm getting fuel, just raw fuel in my oil pan, which means my cylinder walls are getting washed with fuel, which means they're not getting lubricated. It's not a good thing. So I've got to figure out this fueling problem, but not this week. So I'll pull the carb off next week and just make sure that everything's working inside of it, which it's not, because it's just pouring fuel. So, and that's a new carburetor. But what I'm thinking is I may have blown through a diaphragm inside when I was trying to run it without a fuel pressure regulator, because it was like bouncing up to 15. It's possible I blew it out, and now, you know, you fix something and then you break something and then you fix it, but the other thing's still broken, so you got to refix that. And yeah, welcome to my my life. But it's all good because we're working on old cars. We're going to get the Dustang back on the road, and just, you know, he's been asleep for 20 years. He's just not really ready to wake up yet, but he will. Just not quite ready. So anyway, I got my best friend coming this weekend to hang out with his wife for a little while. Looking forward to that. He's a huge car guy too, but he doesn't live around here, so I don't get to see him that often. So that'll be fun. And in the meantime, it's been great hanging out with you once again. And sounded like an announcer. Once again, it's been great hanging out with you, very impersonally. I mean it personally. I truly do. Anytime I get a chance to meet you in person, but otherwise just being able to spend time with you in the shop and, you know, give each other a hard time. That's what it's all about. Work on cars. So we'll see what happens next week. Yeah, but in the meantime, have a great rest of your week. Cheers.